My question is, you mentioned that it really came to you in Umrah. So what was the spark in Umrah?
It was my experience in Umrah. I was very much leading from my mind and I was miserable. My first Umrah experience was a miserable experience. And I always say that to people, as I lead Umrahs now, and I tell people this all the time. I say, it, it's okay if you're not in a space where you know how to lead from your heart yet, right? And it becomes overwhelming. So the mind has all these expectations. The mind is full of all these rigid ideas of what you should believe, of what you should experience. And I was living from there. So I was like, okay, going to the Kaaba, I'll give you an example. I was walking to the Kaaba, and all I could think of was, I should cry when I see the Kaaba. I should
Mm,
cry. And that's all that I was fixated on. Like, what
mm,
does that say about me if I don't cry? Right.
mhm,
Rather than just being in the moment and present. And so I was very much an overthinker. And, it's something that I had to learn how to navigate and still do. You never arrive. You're always learning how to create balance within you. For some people, they
mhm,
lead too much from their emotions. For some people, they're overthinkers. For some people, they have anxiety. So everyone has so I was somebody who lived from my mind a lot. And I remember going to the Kaaba and not crying, and I just felt so miserable. And I was
mm,
just judging it based on just because I was living from my mind. So this presented itself to me how when you learn to put this mind in its place, and as subhanAllah, Allah gave me signs later on that showed me that I was onto something truthful. Because when I was creating this, I wanted to create something that was aligned with the Quran and Sunnah. I didn't want something to go against the Aqidah or anything like that. And so I was asking Allah to show me signs. And one of the biggest signs I got was sujood. It was sujood. And I remember one day I was actually in California at the time, and that's where I was studying, and I was reflecting on sujood. And right there in sujood was my miracle moment. I had gotten other signs on the way there, alhamdulillah, but sujood was like, that's it. I'm ready to make this like a method. And it was in sujood, I was reflecting on the position and going from standing all the way to sujood. And I realized when you're standing, your mind is on top, right? But in sujood, we know this is the most noble position. It's the position you're closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's the place where you put this mind on the ground.
mm,
And yet in that position, what is higher? It is the heart. So this is where I created the concept of the mind is the servant of the heart. The mind
mm,
is not the leader. So I don't believe every thought that comes to me. I don't judge what I do based on my thoughts, my fleeting thoughts, or my fleeting emotions. This heart is sacred. Allah shows you in every rak'ah, in every sujood, that you humble this mind, and it is the servant of the heart. So now, after I process something here, I send it for higher processing here. As long as this heart is connected to Allah, it will always help you process in a way that this mind cannot. And don't get me wrong, I studied the brain. I know how powerful the brain is. I'm not minimizing the brain, but yet the intellect of the heart is still higher.
SubhanAllah, Jazakallah khair. And also what's so powerful is the fact that so many of us have a spiritual experience with Ramadan, seeing the Kaaba, anything. We've
Yeah.
been told, and I speak about this all the time because it's drilled into us, if you don't cry, you're not experiencing the beauty of the moment. And yet you took that failure of the experience of your first visit
Mhm.
to the Kaaba, and subhanAllah, you realize that Allah is setting you on a path to find something that inshallah will heal so many people, inshallah. So subhanAllah, sometimes how we need to not experience the emotion we're expected to experience in order to come to a higher truth. SubhanAllah is so powerful that you share that. Jazakallah khairan.
No, Jazakallah khair. You beautifully put it, and you got me emotional saying that. But yeah, Alhamdulillah. And I think that, I think that what's interesting though is that when I went back a year, no, 3 years later, um, after having developed the method, and now I was like actively practicing it in my own life, but also teaching it and implementing it in my work. Um, I understood the difference between leading from the mind and leading from the heart, and it's experiential. So when I went back 3 years later, I cried when I went to the Kaaba
Mm,
because I learned that this is the most important part within me. And as long as I am present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I am in the moment with Allah, this heart already knows what to do.
mm,
My job is to remove the obstacles, remove the barriers of the mind, remove the barriers of everything else, the barriers of the nafs.
mhm,
And wallahi, when you do that, this is why istighfar is so important if you want to lead from the heart, because it's a means to removing the barriers, and it allows you to, the heart already knows what to do. It already knows. And I was working too hard, putting so meaning like I was putting more pressure on myself that I needed to.